to make it sync.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Now we can go.
It's funny how podcasts have evolved, because podcasts used to take on the style of like the radio show, until podcasts became a thing where now people are expecting a video.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like within the certain contexts, don't make sense without the video.
True.
Like if you watch, I mean, like Joe Rogan and those guys, it's fine. Like they'll make sense without it.
Yeah.
But some dudes like you can't. There's, I mean, like comedy guys, yeah. But some, I mean, who? I don't even know who has a podcast that you can't. Whatever. Yeah, you expect video, especially now. Everyone's TikTok and whatever too, and
True.
half the podcasts get cut up into shorts and stuff too.
And I think people just want to be able to put a face to the name, a face to the voice, right? It's like when you watch those shows, people will do fine, like in a relationship or so, with a phone call, but eventually it has to move to a video call. Yeah, because everybody wants to put a face to the name. So
yeah. Well, that's why those guys are all getting huge, brand deals and stuff now. True. So whenever Rogan got like 100 million from.
Explosive
Rumble,
stuff going on in the
They Call Her Daddy girl got the Hawk-Tua girl. Did you know about her?
Yeah. The first time I heard about that, I was like, huh? Like a friend was telling me, I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, watch this. And I was like, you mean from that alone, that evolved into something that started making so much money?
There's a good 20-minute video that goes through like the entire chronology of like everything that she did.
Serious?
Because now she's gone. Did you hear about her crypto dump thing?
No.
Like meme coins and whatever? Yeah. So she did one of those, and then she like pump and dumped her whole fan base and made like $50 million or something, and has like since fallen off the face of social media. Oh. So she's gone now. Yeah.
So that's what some are doing now to kind of.
Well, that's why you build your brand, right? Is because you can then you sell people whatever the hell you want. You can sell them pieces of paper and they'll buy it because it's yours. But,
interesting.
She's crazy though. Her thing is like, I think she had like I don't know if it's not like an actual record, but within like 1 week of shooting that video, and then like 7 days after, she was had like a whole management team, and was like doing a bunch. Like she was like famous, like but like even like all the logistic famous stuff. Like she had a manager. She had like what's it called when you're like media trained?
Like a social,
whatever.
like a brand,
that
brand
thing.
Manager, like looking at brand appeal. And
yeah. She was selling like merch and shit. I don't know, whatever. She's making a crap load of money.
Serious?
Yeah, and whatever. The poor dude that interviewed her made no money.
The irony of the world that we live in.
It's bad, man. I think it's pretty bad.
Reverse economy. Wow.
Okay, anyway, so you, Mr. Martel. But I keep saying I've been saying your name like the past couple of days. Yeah. And the more I say it, I'm like, it's cool, man. We just say like Mr. Martel because it sounds like some shit from like X-Men or something. But
man, I'm starting to wonder if I should just go by Martel.
You should.
Just go by Martel.
What is it? It's Ryan DeAndre?
Yeah, so Ryan Damani DeAndre. Mm-hmm. So two D's. I'm in the middle. But like my there are so many Ryans these days. But like Martel, you hardly hear that.
Well, there's so many people that go by their middle name. Like a lot of famous people do. Drake's middle name is Drake, and his first name is Aubrey. Right. Not that Aubrey's like a generic name, but it's a fashionable thing to do.
But imagine if he was supposed to go by Aubrey. I think because he has gone by the Drake, no, we can't really think about it like. Yeah. We can't imagine him going by Aubrey, but interesting.
You should go by Martel. That'd be good.
Martel. No, it's French. It's a French last name.
Really?
Yeah. So I've been always curious to kind of like go into my history and family past, because coming from Jamaica.
So wait, you're first gen.
Like in terms of
immigration.
Yes.
Yeah.
My family has never. Only my dad has really traveled here.
Mm-hmm. Didn't you also go? You said you weren't going home, and then you went home.
No, okay, so things changed suddenly.
Yeah, okay.
It changed suddenly.
Okay, rewire, because we haven't spoken since like, I don't know, a while ago. But
late November. They're both.
Yeah.
Late November.
Yeah, probably.
So when I tell you plans changed like within a matter of days.
Yeah.
And it changed for the better. Mm-hmm. Because to be honest with you, if I stayed home, I don't know how I would get through it. I mean, like Christmas time is just family time.
Yeah, being here alone during Christmas would not be fun.
No.
Like, I don't think you'd be the only person, too. Like, most people...
Would have gone back home anyways.
Yeah, so you don't even have friends here. It would be like, what the hell are you doing?
Nah. So when things worked out, I was so grateful. And, you know, as I was saying, like, coming from Jamaica, we were first colonized by the Spanish and then by the British. So when you think about it, a French name, I don't know how that like to have a last name like that. I'm not sure how that got.
Yeah, because the French
mix.
went to like Africa and Nigeria and
Right.
stuff. That's where they mainly colonized. So how did they get to the Caribbean?
I have no idea. Some people are of the opinion that maybe you have some like persons who came over from Haiti, because the French had control over Haiti. So those who probably escaped, those who probably ran away, you know, Jamaica being a nearby country. So that's kind of one of the speculations, but I'm always curious to look into.
You should do what's it called? Ancestry. You know the thing where you test your DNA and then you see where you're from?
Somebody suggested it to me before, and I should actually look into it.
It's always funny because people get like, you'll get someone who's like definitely 100% something.
True.
And then they're not. And you'll get like the whitest person ever, and then they're like 10% black. It's like, what the fuck? Where is that?
How did that even come in?
Yeah,
No.
it's super
The
random.
ratio doesn't match up,
Yeah.
you know? But I'm always curious, man. And I was thinking about that a while ago, and I was like, wow, first name like August. Like, I mean, you know.
I got a good name. My mom blessed me with a good name. I got lucky with a
Yeah.
good name. Yeah.
August, one of the best months throughout the year.
Thank you.
Right? No matter where you are in the world, it's like the month where people are usually on break or getting ready to start back a new season again, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, really, really, we're blessed. Man.
Mark Zuckerberg's daughter is named August.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It's bisexual too.
Okay.
It's boys and girls. My girl names were going to be, so I think August was like the last name that they chose. It was going to be, if I was a girl, it was going to be Autumn or October.
Oh, so they were going with the A series. I like, well, for the most part,
Yeah.
A had to be in the mix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was Autumn or October, and then if it was a guy, there's this like ugly ass Italian name. It's Giacomo.
No.
Yeah, it's
No
my
way.
mom loves it. She's like, oh, it's such a good name. I'm like, you're fucking weird.
No.
It's spelled like Jack, like, or actually, I don't know how it would be spelled in Italian, but like if you were to spell it in English, it'd be Jack, like Jack,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
Amoe, which is just weird. Like, it's just a gross name.
And they were
Sorry if
actually
you're-
considering that.
yeah, sorry if you're named Giacomo, but
Yeah, I mean, no offense, but
it was
it's just
that-
hilarious.
It was that and something else that sucked. But yeah, I honestly have like a pretty good philosophy around, or not. Sorry, that's not what I meant. I think names are important.
Yeah.
Like the name that you're given, a lot of people are like, oh, like it doesn't really matter. Like pick a pretty name. Like no. There's like, look at all of the people who are like super famous. They got cool names.
Very cool.
You know, you got like Jeff and Bill and like whatever.
Yeah, okay.
But
The
like
one-off.
Kanye,
No, seriously.
which literally translates to the one and only or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
Yeah.
Or like I think Elon,
Yeah.
the Hebrew translation or something is also something like that, like God or
Something
means,
in that, yeah.
It means something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's so many people with names that have translations that are whatever.
Really, really great.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, I can't really explain it, but sometimes I think there's some connection between the name you're given and eventually the type of personality that you have.
I think so.
That's how powerful, like, the name thing is.
Like if your name is Jack, if you're one of the 10,000 Jacks, no, one of the 100 million Jacks out there, you're just gonna be another Jack. No, I'm joking.
Just, but okay, do you know what the name Ryan means?
No.
So Ryan means king.
Oh, there you go.
Ryan means king. And I looked into my last name and I was like, okay, if Ryan means king, let's see if there is some matchup with the last name.
Yeah.
Guess what the last name means?
I don't know.
Hammer. Like when I this was
Like
the
hammer.
first, yeah, like this was the first definition I
Nice.
saw. But it's like a representation of, you know, strong-willed,
Oh, okay.
strong-minded.
Okay.
And I kind of see that like
That's not where my brain went. My brain
Oh,
went to
no,
hammer.
no,
I
no.
was like, fuck's hammer got to do with kings?
No. It's like, you know, this strong-willed, you know, empowered mentality.
Yeah.
And I see that in myself, but because I know the meaning of my name also consciously, how I operate is influenced by that, you know?
I think, yeah, like it should be too. I mean, you know, if you got a cool name, you should use it.
some people don't really think about it that way, and it's quite unfortunate.
Well, then you can. I mean, you know, if you don't like your name, then you switch to your middle name. Now you're Martel. Then you're just Hammer. You walk around.
No.
And people can think about what that means. And,
true, it would stir up a conversation.
There's 2 meanings to Hammer.
True.
But
True. Let's not get into that. You know.
But yeah. Anyways, so you went home.
Yeah, and I think for the first time when I went home, I knew how to use a break. I knew what a break meant. And it kind of sounds weird, but normally a break for me would have meant, okay, time to not do like school stuff and to just busy myself with other things. But literally this time around, I kid you not, I just rested and I used the opportunity to just, you know, de-stress, spend quality time with family. So even when there was no reason to be around them, I was around them.
Is this the first time that you've been away from them for a long time?
No. I was literally home in August.
Oh.
You know? So,
okay, yeah.
But I think more and more as I spend my time here, not only am I getting acquainted with here, but I am missing home more.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain the dynamics of it, and I can't explain it for myself, but it's like I really, really see how much I like what I really had and the value of what I really had when I was home. Yeah. So as soon as the break comes, man, I have to take the time.
As to say, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
True.
So there you go. You live it first experience,
True.
First-hand experience, and then you understand.
And it's I wish it didn't have to go that way.
Yeah.
But you live, you learn.
There's a lot of things that go that way that shouldn't go that way.
True.
You know, but
true.
What's the thing? Experiencia docet, which means experience teaches.
That worked perfect. You know, be able to switch from camera to camera.
Well, it's also just like keeps people's attention and stuff.
True.
It's like, you know, it's boring to kind of just like sit there.
One still.
Yeah, and just like see one thing the entire time. But it's okay. You know, I plan on having you on this more than once.
No problem. No problem. I'm telling you, this is the test run.
So I think my face is all in this shit now. Okay, let's see this. Oh, now this damn light is gonna. You know what? That looks like crap, but whatever.
Is it?
Can you even see me? You can't even see me, man.
All right.
Let's put it down. Like this. Look at that. Look how smart we are. Does it look stupid with this light? Low-key it doesn't. It's not that bad.
All right.
Okay. Well, welcome back to the new and improved show where we
keep making changes.
Set arrangements halfway through the damn thing. This is, oh my God, you don't understand how mad I am right now because the whole week I've been contemplating, I'm not going to get another camera. I don't want to do it. It's money, whatever. My phone will work fine.
And you test, you validate, and you try again.
Wait, I want to make sure it's more on you than it is on me. Don't give a shit about me.
Nah, listen, even if you kept the camera only on you, that's okay. We're building.
Okay.
We're building. Remember, this is your podcast. So we're building.
We're kind of back a little bit.
All right.
All
right.
This
cool.
Is dumb as shit, man. Okay, where were we? Boxing's a bad sport. What sports did you play?
Well, I've always been a basketball fan.
Oh, okay.
Like, not even just fan, but a huge, like, passionate person about basketball. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you exactly why. So, growing up in, like, what you guys would call elementary school, I used to always just play soccer.
Okay.
Right? So not the, Canadian American football, but, real soccer.
Yeah.
And my parents would just bring me to games till my brother started joining us on the team and stuff. And that was always the sport I knew. Mm-hmm. And when I went to high school, I got this huge exposure to basketball. My dad is a basketball coach. And trust me, he didn't force me to play. Mm-hmm. But I just fell in love with this sport, and it's end-to-end action. Like, when I sit down and I watch soccer, I'm like, okay, we can spend a whole 15 minutes into the game, and the ball still hasn't touched the other half of the field. Yeah. I can't do that. Like, yeah. I couldn't sit down and watch that for the entire day.
Soccer's slow as hell.
Right?
It's slow as hell.
So I was like, okay, end-to-end action.
Yeah.
Right? You get to use your hands. Mm-hmm. Right? So you're more in control, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And And man, NBA just, put the icing on the cake for everything. End-to-end action, highlights, sweet deal.
I mean, like, it's huge now, man. And, like, the impact that especially NBA has, I mean, I guess all sports, but NBA in particular has a massive cultural impact outside of the sport itself.
True.
Like, there's a few players in soccer, like, Ronaldo and Messi, who are, like, whatever. But, like, the way that the NBA is just, like, I think it's because it's really integrated also with, like, rap and, like, fashion and whatever. And it's all, like, kind of a mix. So it's like, you buy, like, these clothes and then, like, this player wears it and listens to this song and you listen to that song. So then you buy those clothes and now you like this player. And then it's like the whole thing is kind of merged. Whereas, like, Ronaldo's a Portuguese guy.
Right.
So, like, he's probably listening to music that you don't know and can't speak the language.
No, and soccer has, in my opinion, really been a European thing.
Yeah.
So when you take basketball, for instance, now, which they tell you really started here in this country.
Oh, they say that?
Yeah, so like
is the inventor of basketball from here?
It's said that Canadians are the ones who really came up with this concept of basketball. But anything America gets their hands on, it just amplifies and it proliferates.
Yeah.
But there is also a huge black culture surrounding the NBA, and the fact that that's one of the avenues where a lot of young guys, black guys who would come from neighborhoods that people wouldn't even know about or really care about, underserved neighborhoods. That was their way to rise and become the breadwinners for their families and stuff. So I think that also has a huge part to play. And then now, as young black people coming up, we see this, we start to aspire, we start to dream big, and they start to become an inspiration. So I think that plus the heavy commercialization of it, the media just has a wonderful time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, what basketball and music have done for black culture is, like, crazy.
Yeah.
Like, with
big time.
All these guys like Jay-Z and Kanye, like, literally changed so many things.
Big time.
And now, rap is, like, probably not the most listened to thing in the world. Definitely in America.
Yes.
100% in America it is, right?
Across the
world. I think,
world.
like, in the top 100 albums on Apple Music, like, I don't know, 60 of them are rap albums. And then you got, like, Lauryn Hill at the end, which is, like, oh, my God. Pretty much the same fucking thing. Like, whatever. And, I don't know. It's good stuff. So, that's how it goes.
Interesting.
Anyways, your presidency run, how's that going? Well, you said you've had a busy week, so what's that mean?
All right.
For you, Mr. Martel.
I am going to be honest with you. They say in life, you never really... You said it again. You said it again. You said it again, and I'm hearing it now. The more you say it now, I'm hearing it. So it's like the week has been a week where it's been exciting, but it's also been draining because you really don't know the full extent of something until you're in it and you're doing it, and that's exactly what this presidential campaign has been.
Yeah.
So you, and I'm trying to come from a very organic strategy. So yes, everybody's going to have the media stuff. Yes, everybody's going to have the posters and all these things. But when you're trying, like, in my mind, I'm trying to approach this from a servant leadership position.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm understanding that I'm here to serve a community. The only way I can speak with great confidence is if I talk to the people in the community. So just going around campus, meeting with a bunch of people, just like if I'm walking past somebody, I talk to them one-off and I'm like, hey, did you hear about this campaign that's going on? Tell me some of the challenges that you're facing. These are the strategies and the tactics that I'm using because at the end of the day, I think we have to, at some point, pivot away from the clout and all the, the polished-looking stuff in terms of the media.
The polished-looking stuff is, there's a time and a place.
Yes. Yeah.
For it. I'm not going to say it's stupid because it's not.
Right.
But I think in terms of stuff like this, like what you're doing, and even with like the election, like the actual elections and stuff in the States, and seeing who people really are, and not who they're trained to be or told to be, is like a huge thing, and people want to see that. And it's also like it's like an attractive thing, like someone who's okay to just like actually do what they want to do, and you know, like voice their opinion and whatever. It's like people are naturally drawn towards that stuff.
True.
So like for someone, you know, you're a guy who like authenticity is kind of part of your brand. I think it's easy for you to kind of like, you know, get people to kind of be driven towards your cause. Would you say that you know like a lot a just
on
from
campus?
like, just from introducing yourself? Yeah.
I'm even people are even coming up to me to say to me that
oh my God, Ryan,
seeing me before, and I'm like, where did you see me? Like, you know, where did you see me? Right?
Okay. So I have this thing about branding.
Yeah.
Where I don't think that legitimate branding can be done intentionally. Where to really brand yourself in a way, it has to be done. And this is the thing about authenticity, right? Okay. Is that when you do things intentionally, you can like do it authentically, but sometimes you kind of lose the authenticity because you're trying to like, you know, like, oh my God, my algorithm.
Yeah.
Or like,
fabricate,
you know, what do my viewers like?
Yeah.
You know, this stuff and that stuff. And for you, who like, to me, the way that I see it is that you are building yourself, this persona who is both online and in school. And, you know, so how much of that is intentional and how much of this is just like you being you and it just works? Because I'm ready to say that it's more the latter, but
so I'm going to be completely honest with you. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about not being intentional with it, when I do something, my social media is not the first thing I think about.
Okay.
So that much I can tell you.
Yeah.
The second thing is I try, and this is as of like the past few months, I've been thinking to myself, and I said, Rand, you need to be more present. Mm-hmm. And like this thought just came to me, and I was like, okay, be more present. Yeah, be more impactful in the space that you're in. Start from there. Mm-hmm. And that now translated into, okay, if there is an opportunity for the media presence, then sure. But that's not the first thing I think about. And that's exactly what really, really, I think, amplifies my authenticity, because I'm not trying to fabricate it. This is truth. This is me. Yeah. Whether we're meeting now on a podcast, or if you come to my house and we're, you know, having some drinks and we're talking, it's the same thing. You're going to get the same Rand, and that's really what it's about. I really try to stay far away from getting caught up in the likes of it. Yeah.
I think that's all. Like, I think that's obvious about you, and you see, like, it comes through in just like who you are and being around you and stuff. And it's like I said before. Well, I think this got cut out.
Yeah, we were probably cut off in the middle of it.
But I have all the audio's all there.
Okay.
So
true.
We can act and make like a little.
Yeah, but just lip sync and okay.
Stay here for another 5 hours and figure it out. But
all right, cool.
No, you said. Wait, one of us texted the other person and said something about. I think I said.
You said it.
It's hard to find people who are interested in things.
You said it.
It's hard, bro. Man, listen. People will say shit, and they very rarely act on it.
Yeah.
Like, very rarely will someone say something and then back it up with action, unless you badger the shit out of them and are like, "Hey, man, like, chop.
Yeah, jump
like,
on it.
Do this thing that you said you were gonna do." To have someone who is excited, like, okay. The fact that like this has failed 5 times already and we've been sitting here and you're cool about it is already a testament to who you are. Because a lot of people would be like, oh, you know, man, like, oh, like, what do you mean you don't have it together? My bad, bro. I didn't know my phone storage was gonna explode. Like, fuck you, Apple. I don't know. You know, so it's like, first of all, for me personally, it's nice to know that you're out there and there's people out there like that. And also, I think that just like putting people like you, not in charge, but like as the main voice that people hear from, and like this is related to your whole presidency thing, that the main voice that people hear is good, because it's kind of like, I think that people generally lack inspiration in a lot of things. And that if you don't put someone in front of people's eyes who is an inspirational figure, not in like one thing, but just like generally, then that person doesn't actually do anything. You know, and it's so not like I mean, like, what are you gonna do? What, like, as a president, do you like, you don't like make policies? What do? You like?
Well, the council passes policies. Yeah. I don't even have much control over that.
Right.
But really, what I do is I provide that gap between the student body.
Yeah.
the council itself,
Yeah.
and the administration.
Yeah.
So you're putting out fires every day. Is the understanding as you step into this
Mm-hmm.
role, and you're trying to bring cohesiveness across a team where the VP of finance is elected separately. The
Yeah.
VP of events is elected separately. VP comms is elected separately. Student affairs is elected separately. So it's not like a party where you have like the Republicans or the Democrats, and then they get to choose from within themselves.
Mhm.
Everybody is elected by the people
Yeah.
individually, in their own election. So how do you bring cohesiveness across a team like that? That's really what
That's
the job
hard
of the
to do.
president is.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100% though, because it's like, and that's the reason why I made the decision to run. Because I'm going to be honest with you, the doubts came. The doubts came. I am the youngest candidate in the
Really?
election. Yeah.
Well,
all
are
the
you
other
technically second year?
yeah, so second year,
Yeah,
and
okay.
of course I'll be serving in my third year.
Yeah.
But all the other candidates would be going into their fourth year.
Mm-hmm.
So the question keeps coming up: what makes you qualified?
Mm-hmm.
What? Someone in asking their question literally mentioned that you're the youngest.
Oh, really?
candidate in the election. So, when that's said to me though, my thought is okay. When the nomination form came out, it said any student that meets the criteria of a certain set of courses.
Mhm.
So you have to have the full course load.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain average.
Yeah.
It didn't say you have to be in third or fourth year.
Yeah.
So so obviously there's an expectation built into people's mind, that if by age that brings maturity and qualifications automatically.
Mm-mm.
When there's no such correlation.
You will meet people who are like 15 and wiser than 30-year-olds because they've lived whack-ass, weird lives. Like, that's just how it is.
Man,
Like, that is just how... Because wisdom is not a thing that's gained through time. It's gained through
No.
experience. Naturally,
right,
with time, you get experience. But if you live a weird life where you just learn a lot of stuff really early, then you're probably going to be, a wise
back to what you
10-year-old.
said. If you go through that time
Mm-hmm.
and you don't learn from any of those experiences that you had, then did you really learn anything? Did you really gain any wisdom?
Yeah, probably not.
You just passed with time, right? You just passed with time.
This is like so much growth in people's lives is stagnated by the fact that they're too scared to look at themselves without bias and admit that a lot of the things in their life are their fault.
Yeah.
Right?
So
And,
true.
Like,
So true.
like, okay, in my opinion, like breakups and like heartbreak, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff is like one of like the best things that can happen in terms of just like personal growth, because it just is. There's so many things that come out of it, right? There are so many people who will go from like a long-term relationship or not even just any kind of relationship where they were like in it, right? It wasn't like a half-assed relationship. Like they were in this thing.
Full time.
Yeah. And they get out of it and, like 5 days later, they're in a new one or something like that. And it's like, well, like it's fine if you're happy, whatever, right?
Okay.
But like if you're expecting growth and then you're expecting to walk into a conversation and be like, I've been through heartbreak, like I'm a man, I've done it. But you haven't taken like, the 6 months in between those two to be like, she or him or whatever might have done something wrong, but like no one's perfect. I did things wrong too, and there's things I can change, right? Like everyone has to go back
So true.
and like look at what happened and figure out the thing that went wrong to then adjust it. And if you don't, you just waste your life. It's like Socrates, whatever the guy's name is,
Yeah.
says the unexamined life is not worth living.
No, you just pulled that one out the books a while ago. Like, whoa, unexpectedly, man. It's quite funny that you said that, because there is and this is something I've been giving thought to. It's like there is a huge victim mindset, largely across this time frame and this period of life, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, there is always somebody to blame, and that somebody's always the someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the others.
Yeah.
There's hardly any internal reflection. And so I think that's why it's so easy to spot the difference between people who have mentors
Yeah.
and people who don't. Because every single time, you check somebody who has a mentor, the mentor's role in that instance is always to ask the person the first question, like, have you given it thought about the things you can change? Have you thought about the things that you could have done differently? Right? A mentor always really, if they're a good mentor, really helps you to look internally. The mentor is you're not going to come to a mentor that's a real mentor and they're going to sit down and spend time talking with you about the anger and frustration that you have and that the other people or the other situation or the other person who trouble you, you have a right to be angry and all these things.
That's therapy.
No mentor is not going to sit down.
Sometimes therapists do that.
Right. No mentor is going to do that. A mentor is going to sit down practically and say, okay, what can you control?
Yeah.
What could you have done differently, right, to change your outcome? And so you can really spot the difference between people who have mentors and people who don't, because mentors really help you reframe that victim mentality.
Would you say you've got a mentor?
A couple. Close people who are leaning on for the most, dynamic times of my life. Would
you say your parents?
That's where it starts.
Okay.
My dad is my greatest mentor.
Yeah.
He is my superhero. And, anytime I want to think about my becoming and who I really want to aspire to become, it starts with him. Big time, man.
I think that's, the father figure role is for that thing in particular. And there's a saying that your dad is the only person who wants to see you do better than them, something like that, genuinely, because people will say it, but they don't really mean it.
True.
So I think that's great if you've got that.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. Man, this in this life, I'm telling you, and these are the lessons. These are the lessons that I've been learning and I continue to learn, right? Because we're young, right? So over time, we'll evolve. But man, the lessons to be learned. Yeah.
I think the presidency thing will go great. I'm not going to jinx you. I believe in that stuff. I'm not going to say anything. But I think, you're a good guy.
And thank you for just telling me that. At least I have some assurance.
It's okay. Listen, if everyone votes against you, you'll have one vote. I got you covered.
Well, that's the thing, So,
but maybe if everyone votes against you, it's a good thing.
Well, you
stand for something.
True.
They had to vote. They had to choose to not vote for you.
True. What a philosophical way to kind of spin this, to be like, don't worry, even if they vote against you, it's okay. They had to consciously do that.
Hate is not the opposite of love. I can tell you that.
Oh my gosh. I'm really hoping for the best. We vote on February 5th.
Okay.
So we have one more week. Come Sunday, we have another debate.
Okay.
We had one on.
What do you do in those debates?
They
debating?
Ask you questions, and you basically give responses. So they say it's a debate, but it doesn't really feel
about
like
what?
that. Like your platform.
Okay.
So what you say you're gonna do and how you're gonna achieve it.
Do students come and watch?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
But the one next week Thursday will be bigger because this one on Sunday is really just the General Assembly.
Okay.
So they're gonna come and quiz us.
Yeah.
Thursday that passed was supposed to be a semi-formal sort of session. They call it a town hall, so that one wasn't a debate.
Yeah.
But man, did I feel like I was in the hot seat. The questions after questions. 2 hours of sitting down and asking questions.
How many of you are there? 5? 4?
4 of us.
Candidates? Yeah. Okay.
4 candidates. So, but it was only 3 of us on stage at a time.
Yeah.
Man, question after question after question after question. And I'm like, wow. When I was done, I kid you not, I felt burnt out.
Did you notice while you were in it though, or no? Probably not.
No, I guess the adrenaline was just.
That's crazy. Have you ever been really tired for something? Right now, I think both of us coming into this are tired, but right now you feel fine because we're talking. Yeah. The second you leave, you'll pass out.
No, seriously.
But like that,
seriously,
you don't notice how exhausted you are until you're out of it, and then it's like, whoa.
And the passion as well.
Yeah.
Passion keeps you going,
Yeah.
As you said, if you're in the middle of the moment and you're really engaged and high momentum, you're good.
Doing what you love is not bullshit. It is a real thing. Yeah. And there's
facts.
all of this stuff about like 8 hours of sleep and whatever. Have you seen the guys who like Kobe used to sleep 2 hours because he just loved basketball so much he didn't need to sleep?
Yeah.
It's like that's what I aspire to have, man. Holy, if I can,
That's what you want for yourself.
if I cannot sleep
Yeah.
because I want to get up and do something
Yeah.
that badly, I've made it.
Yeah.
Even if the thing that I want to get up and do is like
Yeah.
cut hair, like what? No
Yeah.
diss to hair cutters, but like
Yeah.
whatever. Like even if it's anything, it doesn't matter.
Something.
That's the place to be, bro.
You have something that's worth waking up for.
Yeah, what you bring up about passion is a great thing.
Man,
So
the passion. And again, going back to the fact that it's very hard to find people today who are to get interested in something, especially at its start.
what are you passionate about?
Man.
Wait, keep talking. I'm just gonna adjust this.
The things I'm passionate about. First thing is leadership.
Okay.
Leadership is the first thing I'm very passionate about. And why? Because the world is lacking them.
Okay.
And I can say this with confidence.
What do you mean lacking leaders? Because we have a president and we have a prime minister.
That's a good point. I can say this with confidence because of the time I've sort of spent and is still spending trying to understand leadership.
Okay.
Because people are in a title or they have a title or they're in a position, we say automatically
Leader.
we can give them that stamp of approval as leader. But that's not the case. When we take a look at the leaders of the past, there is always a great calling that you can see that is on their life. And two, they are largely misunderstood in certain ways for whatever it is the dream or the vision they're trying to get across to people. They tend to be misunderstood for their time. And it's not until now, many of us are looking back and we're like, oh yeah, that actually made sense. It's not until now, many people are like, this is what was said then. So the very same thing we're saying today was said then. But leaders of their time, they were largely misunderstood. Because it's almost as if they were ahead of the time they were in.
Yeah.
Until we
they're
have now
not,
caught up.
right.
Until they're now gone.
Which is like,
Yeah.
like that's a thing in like art, like not really leadership related,
Yeah.
but like there's so, I mean, okay, this is kind of different, but like Van Gogh and stuff became famous when they died, right? And it's like a lot of people are hated on and their music sucks, and then 50 years later we're like, God damn, the hell was this guy doing 50 years ago? Yeah.
Just look. This is the same thing when I think about Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
When I think about Bob Marley. Bob Marley is a huge example. Bob Marley, in my opinion, was not truly appreciated by our country when he was alive.
Yeah.
The very messages never really resonated with people so much until Bob's death.
Yeah.
And the aftermath of what we're now in.
Again, you don't know what you got till it's gone. We come back to it.
No, we come in full circle.
We come full circle.
We come full circle. And it's the truth, right? And for me, it's when I look at that, I'm like, okay, we have a couple people roaming around and, saying that they're leaders. But there are certain things that they have probably not even been through as yet. There's certain reframing in their approach. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about perfection.
Yeah.
If you can find a perfect leader, even throughout history, listen, tell me the name.
Yeah.
I want to assess who that person is. You're never going to find a perfect leader.
Yeah.
Right? But when you talk about someone who you can spot their vision, spot how they made a conscientious effort to sell the people who they're leading on that vision, right? And they were so committed that even when everyone said that it's not going to work, they were irrationally optimistic.
Yeah.
That's the type of person we want to define, right? And of course, you saw that this was their life's purpose because it brought them to death.
Yeah.
You have some people who they still haven't gone through that yet. Again, standing for something. Very important, man. Very important. Very important.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the guys now who are like it's funny because there's more leaders who are not in the leader space than are in the leader space, right? Like people who people look up to now is more like entrepreneurs and Musk and whatever, and athletes and musicians and whatever. These guys who like, you know, against the odds, they did it. Versus like, it's kind of, actually, I never thought about this, but like the fact that no one like looks up to the president is kind of weird.
But why do you think so?
Why do I think they should, or
Yeah.
why do I think it's...
Like, just like...
I don't know, this is the president. What? Like, what? Why does no one... Why, like, when you tell me, when you like, August, what are the top... Who are the top 10 people that are most influential? You know, like...
Politicians don't come up
no politician comes up.
Politicians don't come up in that.
No politician which is weird. And maybe that's got something to do with the fact that, like, it's all fake. And that there is so much propaganda, and that a lot of it is just a facade for other crap that is like really going on behind the scenes. Because like,
there's a huge that has something to do with it. But I have a theory, and my theory is this: many, I would go as far as by saying, a lot of people today are hardly inspired by the ones in position of, you know, presidents, prime ministers.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest people who are making an impact right now are the people in the business space.
Yeah.
The people who are making a major impact right now are the ones in the music industry, are the ones in the creative industry. Because those looking onward see something that they have or in them that they are inspired by.
It's relatable, right? I think that's, yeah.
You can't many today can't even relate to their leaders, their politicians, because some are either not in agreement with them, and some are in agreement with them. But even the ones that are in agreement with them are not even really focusing on them as the person.
Yeah.
But more so saying, oh, they seem to be the better option against the other person that we have. So there's no inspiration really coming from them.
I think, I'm not going to get political.
Okay.
But I think the problem is that there is too much one or the other, and there should be more of both. There's too much of siding and not enough of like the intermediate thing that is like a combination of the two. Because if you're liberal or conservative or whatever you are, like no one is 100% liberal. Like, you know, conservative is objectively does more things for wealthy people. Okay. You're telling me all the liberals want to be poor? No, everyone wants money. So there's things about, you know, like there has to be some kind of equilibrium between the two. But the way that like everything in the world just works now is that, like, you know, if you're not one way, you got to be the whole other way, and it sucks. You know,
so it's
like,
either left or right.
Yeah, and that's with so many things. Yeah. Like, it's like, you know, in some ways it's good. Like, I do think that in a lot of things you do in your life, you should be like 100 or 0. Yeah. But sometimes with opinions, it's like you kind of, and perspective,
you have to find a middle ground.
You got to like pull from places that are of opposite and learn to like combine them.
I think that there's the best way to sum this up is this. The world today is fueled by emotions. Yeah. And that is largely to the extent because opinions now run the world. Mm-hmm. And so because we're fueled by emotions, the opposite to that, in my opinion, is results. So some people, so many want the results, you know, of, you know, a better economy, you know, a successful livelihood, seeing the advancement of country and people. Mm-hmm. But we're too emotional as human beings. Mm-hmm. The slightest thing that sounds like what we don't agree with triggers us. Yeah. And so it's either you're going to have the emotions or you're going to have the results. You can't have both. I'm telling you, you can't have both. Yeah. When you look at the life of Nelson Mandela, and when, you know, the apartheid was ending, him and some other leaders within the country started to bring together, you know, blacks and whites at the table to discuss how we can charter a way forward. Mm-hmm. And that was really a symbolism of the fact that you have to lay aside whatever the emotional stress or pain that you're feeling, because we have to go forward. Mm-hmm. And I've always looked on that and have it as a takeaway to be like, to bring people to the table in a very, high tension moment at that time. You were beating all odds. Mm-hmm. you were going against, the tide, in a time like that. But and again, that's what I'm talking about when you talk about true leadership. True leadership.
So you're saying it's being able to tie people together when it's not convenient to?
Irrespective of
whatever's going on.
Whatever is going on. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, in a time of chaos, people are looking to the one in charge, mm-hmm. the one they determined to be their leader, to find some answer. You also find that the people, like in groups of people who don't have a determined leader, when all hell does break loose, there is always that one person emerges. It's like no one knows who it is until it's too late, and then it's like, oh shit, John is dead. What do we do? And here comes this guy out of nowhere, and everyone's just like, zoop, follows that guy, and then all the tension's on this dude, and that person is the one who then makes decisions and whatever. I think it is a really, 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 like, like those, we need more of those people who just like, are willing to take charge, but are also not like selfish, because so many people do it in a selfish way. That's like, I want control, I want power, yada, yada. But it's like, those people just, corruptness kills after long enough, right? Ooh. And so to have people, it's like, oh, who says it? Oh, man. It might be Marcus. You know who Marcus Aurelius is? He was the last of the great 5 Roman emperors. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then he made a horrible decision and put his son in charge when he should have put someone else in charge. Anyways, I think it's him who says that the leader who wants power is unfit to rule, or something like that. Like, you should always give power to the person who doesn't want it, right? Or not who doesn't like, directly want it. Like, they would be good with it, but they're not like gung-ho, I want power so I can then behead whoever I want if they piss me off kind of thing. Because you see those kind of people, the people that are just driven by the power, it's like they want it for unjust reasons. Yeah. Versus like the guy who's a hard worker, who's honest, who, loves their people and whatever. And then you just throw a crown on the person and like, oh, they were already the king. Now they got a crown and it's great. I've never thought about that. Interesting. I have a slightly different take on it. Mm-hmm. Because in class right now, so I'm actually doing an intro to leadership course. So this is perfect. Yeah. So is this the one where you had to, I heard about this, you have to pick a person and do a presentation on them? Okay. Who'd you do for yours? So right now, my group, we're still deciding, but the decision is between Steve Jobs and Lionel Messi. Okay. What do you think about Steve Jobs? Oh, Steve Jobs. He's an interesting dude. Man. And this is why I told my group I want to do Steve Jobs. Okay, that's cool. Not because he is, just because he's the founder of Apple and all these things. Mm-hmm. But my thing is, for someone who has now passed away, but to still have that big of an impact, that's not ordinary. No, not at all. No, that's not ordinary. You have so many people who, after death, they are forgotten. After death, they're truly gone, right? But his influence, his impact, even his ingenuity, it still lasts to this day. Do you understand it? Because I don't. No. When people are like, "This guy's a genius," I'm like, "Huh?" Like, okay, I get Apple's Apple, but like at the same time, like, huh? He couldn't, I mean, he was like a bit of an electrician and whatever, but like he wasn't no software genius. He was a good design guy. And I guess the marketing stuff was like the big whoop, right? But I don't really understand it. If you understand it, please explain it, because I would love to understand. Because this guy is the dude who like everyone just talks crap about him all the time. And no one has anything good to say about him personally. And then he's still everywhere. Yeah. It's like there's literally no one ever says Steve Jobs was a nice guy who cared about his people and loving and yada, yada, yada. It's like Steve was an asshole who would flush his feet down the toilet to clean them or something at the office and then would fire people when they looked at him weird. And then it's like Steve Jobs was also the brightest mind of our generation. So Okay, so let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
The portion that I understand is the fact that Steve was not the greatest and who he was because he was the best programmer.
Mm-hmm.
Steve was also not this great legend because he knew how to make the best phone, or like he was a phone manufacturing expert.
Yeah.
What I think is the portion that really makes him great is that he knew exactly, one, how to play on the human mind,
Mm-hmm.
and two, he knew exactly how to convince an individual that something that they once didn't think they needed, that they now needed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the, and so when you look at his philosophies and his principles, that's what people are studying today to replicate the same influence and the same effect.
Right.
Why are we going to just have this phone in hand and we start to think of it as an extension of us?
I have separation anxiety.
No, you see.
I don't think I've been not within 10 feet of it since I've had it. And I don't think anyone has.
You think that it's an extension of you.
It's weird. It's kind of weird.
Kind of?
It's weird.
It's very weird.
Weird.
But he knows how this thing.
Yeah.
The mind, man. The mind. And that's where his power comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So again, many people you're gonna, others you would say, oh, they're really experts because they're probably a great phone manufacturer or they're a great programmer. So that's really their superpower.
Yeah.
But no, when you listen to Steve Jobs' story, he tells you, one, he never went to school to study for it.
Yeah.
The second thing is he did calligraphy. Are you serious?
He also was a drug addict all of school. Like he was doing psychedelic, not a drug addict, but he did crap ton of psychedelics and like all this stuff, which, is like, it's just like random. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
How did you go from this to that, man? Where'd it come from?
So when you think about somebody like that, you remember you were saying earlier that people tend to draw to the person that it's not doing the most random thing, but what they're doing is not the most predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so he comes into this industry not knowing half of what the other guys around him know.
Yeah.
And he starts to apply it from a different perspective.
And sometimes that's what you need. Like,
oh, big time.
I read this story on LinkedIn the other day about some kid who was he went to Columbia and he was given a math problem.
Yeah.
But he fell asleep for the first 20 minutes of class and he woke up and he wrote it down. He was like, oh, I guess this is the homework. And then he went home and he couldn't solve it and then tried for 5 days and then brought it back. And the professor was like, what the hell are you doing? He was like, what do you mean this is the homework? He was like, no, that was a problem that no one could ever solve. And the kid just fell asleep and so didn't know. And so he assumed it was the homework. But because the kid was never told that this is unsolvable, he solved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's the level of ignorance to not know if something is doable or to just if Steve had been boxed in by what the industry is supposed to be, then he probably, I don't think there really was a mobile industry or whatever, so he was pioneering it. But if there had been phones.
That's the key point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there had been instructions, he wouldn't have had the kind of creative freedom that he did have.
Yeah.
And so he wouldn't have ended up the person that he is. And, Apple probably wouldn't have, that's a huge thing.
So think about how we can tie that back now to our generation and kind of how our creativity is being limited.
Everywhere.
Because we are looking for those boxes.
Don't get me started.
We're looking for those boxes to say which box do we identify in, which box works for us. And so we're not being creative. It's hard to find people that can be passionate about something.
Uh-huh.
So everything that we kind of talked about at the beginning of this, it ties back into that.
I got something to share. So,
all right.
Do you listen to any of the guys on the internet who are entrepreneurs and whatever?
Yeah.
Do you know
big time.
Alex Hormozy and?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those guys, great dude.
Yeah.
Seems like a cool guy.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say anything about him. I don't know him.
Okay.
Have I watched all his videos? Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Have I stopped? Kind of. Not really. I still whatever. I'm aware of who they are. These guys are smart. They're doing their own thing. Whatever. Yeah. Okay. In my opinion, and you can tell me how much you agree with this. The concept of breaking something like business or literally anything into a science and saying this is how you do it is not always, but can be wrong.
Okay.
Because by doing that, like, yes, you know, if you're going to do something like, you know, like run a painting business, it's a painting business. Like, there's 10 things to do.
Okay.
You know, you read a book, you now know how to paint. But if you're going to like innovate and do something that no one's ever done before, you don't want instructions. Like, instructions kill creativity. They just do, because they box you in and they tell you what you're supposed to do. And when you're doing something that's new and creative, you're not supposed to do anything. That's the whole point. And this is why, in my opinion, the media, these people on the media, like, they do, it's like a double-edged sword. They're doing great because they're helping the people who are not so creative and or don't want to be creative.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're killing people because they're not really like letting you just go and like fuck around and find out and just like do the thing, to just like learn by doing it, right? And it's like this, like, I didn't want, like, listen, I'm not hyping myself up, but I didn't watch a video. I didn't do anything, okay? Like, I just got a camera. I got a camera and some microphones, and it's obviously not working. Like, it is obviously going poorly.
No, don't say it's not working. It's working in the form it's in right now.
It's kind of working, right? Yeah. But it's like, this is kind of like this is the part that is like, you know, like, stop watching videos on how to and just go. You know, it's like part of that. I think the creativity is the thing that this generation lacks. Like, honest to God, I think we do. And I think we've become more consumers than we've become creators. And it kind of sucks, right? Because now what happens when the older people are all dead? What do? Oh, it's cool.
Ooh, you're touching on a very, very sensitive one here.
That might bug some people.
All right, you said a couple of things.
Yeah.
Firstly, you mentioned,
and I'm not saying that any of this stuff is bad, by the way. Like, everything has good and bad side. I'm just bringing out right now the bad side. Right. But there is a good side to what I just said.
No, but the aspect that you one of the first things that you touched on that I wanted to bring up a little bit is this drive to put everything in the rules of science. Mm-hmm. That's where I think as a society we have to be able to be cautious. Mm-hmm. Because, all right, I'll give you an example. Well, maybe I can't give that example for the sake of the video. I'll probably stay away from giving that example. But the example is. No, I know you would want to hear the example, but for the sake of the video, I won't give that example. But you see, it's important to like try to give people strategy. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you have to emphasize that it's just strategy. It's a form of strategy. Yeah. And it's just one lens of approaching it. When we try to box things into the rules of science and everything into the rules of science as if there is a step-by-step process, what we do, and I see, like when I was younger, you know, now that I'm actually getting older and I'm more understanding the world, you know, my perspective is changing. But as, you know, what's happening to the younger generation is when we try step by step what we think we understand the science to be, and it doesn't work out like how the outcome seems to be, we end up falling into depression. We end up falling into devastation. We end up getting disappointed. Yeah. Because largely what tends to happen is the very person who is teaching you, like these influencers or so, they never had it figured out and knew any science at all.
Life is a science in retrospect and a mystery moving backwards. Said one of the guys online. I forget who. A life in retro. I just totally messed it up. Is a mystery in retrospect and it's a science in retrospect and a mystery moving forward. Right?
Science in retrospect.
It makes sense when you look back. I think Chris, the guy who does Modern Wisdom. Have you seen that one? He's a British guy.
No.
Chris Williamson, that's his name. He's cool. I like him. He was a party promoter, and now he's turned podcaster. He's a cool guy. Okay. But no one had it figured out. So why does everyone want to have it figured out so bad? Like, why is everyone, especially now, it's like people are in such a hurry, you know, like I'm 19, you're 20, 20?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, there are people our age who are like, you know, if I'm not X by 25,
Yeah.
my life is over.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you like probably miss so much of it by doing like that.
Okay.
Like, huh? Like what?
No, says who? And why did you put that timeline stamp on yourself?
Yeah. And it's like, where are you in a rush to be?
But
And why do we do that? Why is that our innate, like, because, like, I don't know.
if we give it some thought, you remember you said it earlier. We have now become heavy consumers.
Yeah.
In an age of high technology, mass social media, the dispensation is so large that everybody's trying to sell you something and everybody's trying to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are fabrications of images of a life that looks splendor.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ends up happening now to those who are looking onwards is, how can I get there?
Yeah.
And what's the fastest way to get there? And so in trying to figure out what's the fastest way to get there, in math, we are taught that once you know the formula, it's very easy to get to the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So now you see, when our brain tries to think, to be like, okay, if I can figure out what's the science behind this, if I can figure out what's the formula behind this,
Yeah.
I'll get there quick, because people are in a rush to
Yeah.
get there quick. That's really where I think it starts out from.
And then what happens if they don't get there?
And now you understand.
What if A plus B is not C?
But that's why now when you say in hindsight, you now see that really and truly,
Yeah.
you can understand what the science of your journey was, but it's not until after you really get to that point of reflection.
Yeah.
You know, that's really where I think it starts out from. You know, but there's a whole bunch of dynamics that I don't think we can fully, truly answer it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Man, we have some deep dive to do. I really weep sometimes for a generation.
Isn't it crazy that we don't know anything about like how the brain works either? Like, not really. Like, we can't really like explain emotions and stuff. Like, that's kind of weird that you just like get angry.
Well,
Like, why am I angry?
that's
And why when I'm angry do I want to hit things? Like,
fair point. Yeah, why not just be angry?
yeah, or why not like when I'm angry I want to make things? No, I'm joking.
Okay, yeah, why that still?
But it's just weird. Like, there's so much stuff that we don't know about. Yeah, I don't know, bro. We're out here making damn robots to cook and clean.
that are to be smarter than us.
Yeah, and we don't even know, like, you know, half the things that we should about our brains and whatever. I mean, maybe we do. Not to my knowledge. Anyways.
Oh, it's so funny that you said that. I'm actually doing a creating with AI course now. And
Yeah, what are they teaching in school? I don't have any courses, so I don't know. Also, how do you even teach it?
it's okay. I'll tell you this. This class is powerful.
Okay.
Because we're not just sitting down and learning programming and being like, okay, this is ChatGPT,
Yeah.
this is Gemini. No, that's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
What we're doing is that our professor is trying to help us understand what we mean by creativity, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And we're reading a book by this very, very successful author. And I'm trying to remember the name of the author now.
Mm-hmm.
But what the author did is actually utilize AI in the field of music and the arts.
Okay.
So the author actually wrote this book on the premise that in practice, the author is actually working with, choirs and collecting their vocals, and that's being data that's actually training AI models. So, but in understanding what creativity is and what do we mean by creativity in the human mind, there's another book that the professor gives us to read as well, to complement that other book. And that other book talks about how we can see that there are similarities between the brain and AI models.
Yeah.
But there comes a point and an extent to which the AI models can't replicate the innate nature in us to be creative.
Right. Yeah. Which is the thing. It's like deep learning
Yeah.
is the term, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I mean, like, you program your neural pathways to
Yeah.
do whatever, and it's probably not easy, but it's probably within engineering reach to, program a robot that can do, play the piano.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like an equation.
Right.
You do this and you'll get that.
So the rules are there.
But when there's no rules, then what? And I mean, that's, I guess, when it gets scary, because then if it does figure out what to do when there are no rules, then we're screwed. But
That's where we're inching to, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
But that is, like, this is why I do hold out hope, is because I'm personally, like, being in the world of, like, because I'm around engineers all the time, it's like everyone is just AI this, AI that. I don't actually care. I don't like robots. I don't give a damn. If it doesn't exist, my life is the same. Yeah, I use chat to do my homework. That's like the only thing that I use it for.
Okay.
But it's like, sometimes I worry. I'm like, well, what the hell? And I think probably a lot of people get this. Is like, well, what are we going to do if, robots are doing everything? And so it's like, I hopefully,
Okay.
maybe,
Remaining optimistic.
that they don't learn to do the arts and they can't do the things that humans are like.
That makes us us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is like the innate thing that we can do, which
Yeah.
is like, before we could speak, we were drawing hieroglyphs, however you pronounce it,
Yeah.
on cave walls, and like doing interpretive dances and whatever, and like,
Yeah.
hooga chugga around the fire, like
Yeah.
that kind of crap. It's just like, that's like, what makes us us. I mean, as long as there's a discrepancy between the two, then I think we're fine.
Right.
But if there isn't, then it
True.
won't. It's over.
Well, no, that's one of the problems. Humans are now finding it difficult to identify the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, I think as a society we're finding it difficult. Let me say it like this: we're finding it difficult to come to that place to say when we need to stop.
Generally?
Yeah, like, so people who want to always see change, want to always see new things.
Yeah.
That's, in my opinion, one of the reasons why we're continuing to push these boundaries of artificial intelligence. But at a point and to an extent, I think we now need to say, let's stop here.
Yeah.
With just this thing, let's stop here, because the further we push beyond, we now have to start asking ourselves the question, are we having more losses than gain? That's really the question. I think we're finding it hard to ask ourselves and to know when that point of stop comes, because the more we advance in the good parts, the shadow follows behind.
And then unfortunately you get guys who, like, I'm a fan, but when people like Elon Musk have supreme control over the things that he has control over, it's like, how do you stop someone like that from doing anything?
But I'm glad though that you have you said the best thing. We still have to remain optimistic.
Yeah.
In the middle of it, you can't give up hope. And at the end of the day, and this is what I'm telling you, consumers have power, but unfortunately we don't really know the power that we have.
It is he who controls the people controls the state. So, if you're a king, there's a do you know who Machiavelli is? Machiavelli.
Oh,
He's an old Florentine politician. He was a political advisor to the oh my God, what's her name? This family, there was a big, like, Italian family who had a bank. They were kind of like one of the first banks in Florence, right?
Okay.
And so Machiavelli was like one of their political advisors, because eventually they became to have like political power, yada yada. And then he wrote this book. He got like banished because he like got framed for something, whatever. He then spends the rest of his life, super smart guy, sitting and writing this book in his attic, and it becomes like one of the greatest books of all time. It's called The Prince. You should read it.
Okay.
I'm sure you've I'm surprised it hasn't come up in class, because it's just it's like the book.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like it's
Okay.
okay. Anyways, he has a bunch of quotes about politics,
Yeah.
but it's also like in the field of polyscience and how that relates to just like everything in general, like life strategy. How like you must be a fox to discern traps, but a lion to fight off wolves, right? So it's like being able to have the duality between like claws and eyes, and it's like, what do you do? Anyways, he has this huge philosophy around whether or not it's better to be feared or loved as like the leader.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
and maybe this is related to you.
Okay.
Not that you can be feared, because what are you gonna like?
Nah.
You know,
Yeah, nah.
start. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, it's so like what holds out more power, and it's so his opinion is that arguably it's better to be feared, or sorry, it's better to be loved, but occasionally you most of the time you can't be, so then you want to try and be both.
Okay.
And you tend to opt towards fear because fear is just easier to do, right? Like it's easier to kill people than it is to be like, you love me, and then like convince them of that.
Right.
But that is like that is like the real power of, like, you know, people who are in positions of leadership and who are the ones who like make change, and who are also the ones who, like, you know, like Musk, are driving these initiatives and whatever. And it's like, at what point, you know, do you control the people? And if you don't, you can't do anything, because like effectively without his like shareholders, right, his companies aren't like, you know, they're not worth anything. Like if people stop buying Teslas, there's no Tesla.
Perfect.
Right? So that's like how everything is. It's like the more control you have over a group of people, then that's when you have control over the things that those people command. Right? So you should read that book. It's a good book.
Prince.
Yeah. I said,
Prince.
wait, I might have a copy here.
Prince.
It might be in there. Is it? I don't know. I have like 3 of them because I was in like a phase. But
Well, okay.
Anyways, I don't know why that came to mind. That was kind of my bad.
You make a good point. Just again on the topic of leadership.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we need to talk more about it. Even as, you know, in circles, groups of friends, because, you know, this whole thing of leadership, it can rub off on people. And if we understand how leaders are supposed to operate, then we understand how to gauge our expectations.
Yeah.
Because again, even that thing with perfection, I think some people genuinely think leaders are supposed to be perfect. And
how important do you think like selflessness is in leaders?
Okay, I'm gonna.
As someone who is an aspiring leader like yourself, you know, how are you gonna pitch yourself to, you know, maybe the Huron kids that are gonna maybe watch this?
Good question. You know, so no pressure, right? No pressure.
No pressure, man.
I'm kind of in the hot seat here. I think selflessness is a crucial ingredient that, as a leader, your mind has to gauge it properly. And this is, and what I mean by that is this: your motive for leading definitely influences how selfless you are or not. If your motive is for control, for fame, to be able to say that you have that title and this is the next step in your goal to climb, then you're obviously somebody who, you know, that there's nothing selfless about that. So as a leader, to truly, as you said, have that nature of empathy, being able to inspire people, not by coercion or force, but those people rising and wanting to join you on the dream and the vision that you have just out of their decision.
Yeah.
That's important in order to achieve that. You obviously have to be somebody who exerts some form of selflessness. But selflessness can't come in full completion. And
you're not always,
right. And
there's a selfish aspect to everyone.
No, and
or is that not what you're saying?
It sounds bad, but
Okay.
I want people to understand clearly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The selfish aspect comes in when you know, as a leader, you get gratification from the fact that you inspire other people. It's selfless, but it's selfish to get that form of gratification. Like, why is that the thing that entices you the most?
Yeah.
But it's also a positive thing in the sense that if you're inspiring other people, if you're uplifting other people, you know how to bring people together to join in on a vision and a cause. That's good, right? But it's a selfish thing to kind of say, you know, I love that sense of gratification that comes in from being able to inspire people. So the selflessness has to be gauged, because then if you're a leader who doesn't have a particular reason or drive for why you're even being in that position of leadership, it's going to be very hard for you to be an impactful, effective, and successful leader. Big time.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. Gotta know how to gauge it, man. Gotta know how to gauge it. And I know some people wouldn't probably say it like that, but that's one of the perspectives I have right now, that you gotta know how to gauge the selflessness, because you need it to lead the people.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to ensure that you still have a passion and a reason for what you're doing it. Because you're going to have some people who come along the way who their entire aim is to just throw you off.
Yeah.
They have no meaningful thing to say. They're not even giving you criticism because they care and want to see you make adjustments. They're giving criticisms just because they want to tear you down.
Right.
Now, in a time like that, if you are really selfless, if you're selfless in completion, you're going to want to give up. Yeah. You're going to be like, I've been selfless for these people and this is how they're treating me. But you still have to be convicted about something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only aspect I really think where the selfishness or the selfish part actually comes in.
No, I think that's like one of the best characteristics to have, is like the kind of provider characteristic, where it's like the thing that you find fulfillment in is doing things for other people. And there's some people like, I genuinely think, I mean, I don't know about now because he's kind of blown up and like fame will do whatever. And I don't know, it's hard to know famous people, but Mr. Beast, when he was doing videos when he was like our age and, like just walk down the street and like give homeless people like 10 grand. Everyone in the comments and all strangers were like, why do you do this? Like, what's there to gain? And his answer is always nothing. I have nothing to gain. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes it is just enough for people to just do the right thing and do a nice thing. Yeah. And that is just like a good feeling. It's it's an ego stroke. You know, you feel good. I have $10,000 to give this guy. Right. You know, like some people don't. Yeah. Some people don't have $10,000 to put food on the table or whatever. Yeah. But like, so, you know, in that sense, like it can be a little bit weird, but there are people who exist who do have like, you know, that selfless capacity to, you know, like they don't need nothing in return. They don't need something. No. They just don't. No. And like you said, or the something that they need is the
fulfillment that
you get. Yeah.
This is the one and only Rand Martel. This is the one and only Rand Martel signing off. Stay tuned.
It's good.
Yes. Okay, well, I don't really have an outro to do. So there's no chance anyone made it to the end of that. But if you did and you're watching this for some reason, that was the first actual take that I've ever done with this setup, obviously. And halfway through, my phone cut out. So this thing is garbage. Ran out of storage, which I should have expected to happen, but whatever. So that's why the camera angle had to be cut and swapped to a different angle. And instead of having two cameras, just had one. Anyways, so that was the first one. I don't know. There's more to come. I don't care. It sucked. And there's going to be a million more that suck. Peace and love.